Hello. Today we're going to be constructing a professional quality production XLR mic cable. If you go to a lot of online forums or Reddit and you ask about what cable to buy, people are almost universally going to say, just build it yourself, purchase some Canare L-4E6S Starquad cable and Neutrik XX series connectors. And that is a good idea, but it's not very helpful because you need to learn how to do it. So we're gonna go through the whole process today. We're gonna build the cable from start to finish. We're gonna talk about some best practices for labeling. And we'll talk about the benefits of these products specifically. Here we go. Okay, so let's talk about what we need, materials. We need a length of Canare L-4E6S cable. This is an awesome general product for on-stage usage, location sound usage, anything in the field. It is super flexible, really nice smooth jacket. It cleans off very nicely, super robust because it has a tightly braided shield inside. It also exhibits some favorable RF rejection properties, which is kind of the big selling point for Starquad cable in general. Those benefits tend to be a little overstated, and they can actually be a little detrimental for really long distances because this cable has very high capacitance. But for like stage usage, anything under a couple hundred feet, this is a really well-rounded product. And it's a good thing to learn how to use. A lot of people avoid it because it's a little hard to work with in the assembling process, but it's not actually that bad. We'll take a look at some easy ways to deal with this. Next up, we have Neutrik XX series connectors, a male and a female, 3-pin. These are pretty much an industry standard for the past several decades. They will fit very nicely into most devices because the devices, such as consoles, are also using the same series of connectors. And they just tend to hold up really well. They look good, easy to assemble. Yeah, good option. You should just get these. Some tools. You definitely need something to hold your connector and your cable. This is a Panavise. Anything like that will do. Soldering iron, something with adjustable temperature. There are plenty of good ones out there. You'll need a wire stripper that can go down to a fairly small gauge of cable. This one is a 20 to 30 wire gauge stripper. That'll work very nicely. Flush cutter or any sort of wire cutter for cleaning up, trimming the ends, and cutting the filler out. We'll take a look at that soon. Some sort of pliers to hold the work while you are working on the wires. It is going to get really hot, and you definitely want a blade of some sort, something really sharp for cutting the jacket off the cable. And this is kind of the secret weapon for Starquad. It's a metal reusable toothpick, but anything really sharp, a really sharp tool that's kind of strong. I used to use a multimeter probe for unbraiding the shield. Let's take a look at the inside of this cable and see why we actually need this, and let's get into it. Okay. So here we are, we've got our 10-foot length of Starquad cable. We're gonna start by putting the cable boots on. As always, this has to go on before we do any work. So, here's one out of our connector bag. And then on the other side, we're gonna go ahead and pre-install some heat shrink for labeling. We've got a longer length of clear heat shrink, and we have a color coding heat shrink. A lot of companies will use a different color for different lengths. just so you can quickly see what you've got when you're looking in a road case with a bunch of cable. And then we're going to install our other boot. There it is. Okay, so let's get into this cable. We're gonna want a nice sharp blade, be super careful, and we're going to take away about that much. We don't wanna be trimming too much off because then the connector won't assemble nicely. We're also gonna trim off some length when we're assembling or when we're doing the soldering itself. So let's trim off about that much for now. And we're gonna fold this back. And we're gonna cut through that outer jacket. We wanna see that inner shield, that metal. We don't wanna cut through that, that's very important. And we're just gonna go around the circumference and we're gonna get through all of that jacket. Here we go. So this is what people don't like about this cable. It has this really tightly woven shield, which a lot of other cable products don't have. And people find this hard to unbraid, but using this guy or anything really sharp like this, it is not actually that hard. We're just going to work our way around. We're gonna stick this in and we're unbraiding this whole thing. This will take a few minutes. I'm just gonna speed through this, but just get all the way down to the jacket. Okay, so here we go. What's inside? It's all kinds of stuff. We have our shield that we just unbraided. We want to pull all of that off to the side. And we're going to try to not get any of the cotton filler material, this kind of thread that's in here, in with that shield. So we have a good amount of that shield material back here. We're just going to twist that up. Okay, now we have our cotton filler material and we have 2 blue and 2 white wires. We're gonna get rid of all this stuff. I like to just give it a little twist, take some flush cutters and go right up there. Starting to get a little cleaner, okay. Now we're going to strip some of this jacket off of the internal conductors. We're gonna strip back a few millimeters, more than we actually want to go in the solder cups, because we're gonna be trimming it a little bit. And if we have a little extra length, it's gonna make it easier to twist them together, as we'll see in a second. So we have about that much stripped off, looking good. I'm just gonna heat up my soldering iron. We're about to tin the wires. So we're going to, as per Starquad's directions, twist together the blue wires and twist together the white wires. Now we're going to apply some solder to all of this to hold it together, and then it'll be getting soldered into the connector itself. So let's go ahead and do that. I like to put this whole thing in the vise. I have a soldering iron set to 600 degrees Fahrenheit. And I like to use a fairly thin solder. It makes it very easy to control the flow of the solder. You don't want to be putting too much solder on anything, it'll just get messy. This is a 0.8 millimeter 6040 solder from Kester. So here we go. We're just going to apply a bit of solder onto here so we kind of can't see the copper anymore. And it's going to hold these wires together very nicely. We don't want it dripping off or anything, but we want it to be covered so it all stays together. There we go. This one, you don't want to go crazy because it can get really rigid if you do the whole thing. So just the end. And then we're going to trim this back. So if we look at our XLR connector out of the Neutrik bag, we can see we have these little solder cups, and they're not huge. We don't want a lot of conductor sticking out. And as we can see right now, a good amount is gonna stick out. So we're gonna trim about half of these off. We're gonna get them all roughly the same length. Great, they're all about the same length. They're gonna go into the connectors very nicely. Let's go ahead and do the other side. Okay, so this is looking good. We're gonna start tinning up our connectors. We're gonna put some solder in the solder cups. And then we're going to assemble this whole thing. We've got our male side here. This side has pretty small cups. We're gonna just put a little bit of solder in there. We don't wanna go crazy. Nice. Now, let's look at which wires are gonna go where. So on this side, we have pin 1 on the left, 2 on the right, 3 in the center. Now, I usually go by Canare's color coding scheme, so that's going to be shield on pin 1, white on pin 2, and blue on pin 3. So I'm right-handed, so I will always start on the left side. So that is pin 1. That is going to be the shield. This is the male side. So that's going to be the side going into the stage box or the console. So that's the side we want to have the labeling. We don't want that on the microphone side because it'll look tacky. So we're going to start with this. Pin 1, just making sure, always double, triple checking. Pin 1 is the shield. That is on this side. So here we go. We're going to get everything nice and toasty. That's going to form a very strong joint. Holding it in there for a few seconds, getting everything up to temperature. And should be good. Letting it go, letting it cool for a few seconds. Boom, solid. Okay, then I'll start on my pin 2 over here, which is gonna be the white conductors. This is where some pliers might be handy, or some sort of tweezers to hold the work. Okay, let's assemble this side of the connector. So this is the little strain relief part that comes with the connector. It's going to go over the cable and it's going to slot in to these little openings on the side, keying. And we want to make sure that jacket is going to be grabbed by the teeth inside there. So if the jacket is outside of the strain relief, that means we trimmed off too much jacket in the first step. And that's not going to be a durable cable, so you'll have to redo that. This is going to go right into the shell there, like so. It only goes in one orientation. And we're going to slide up our boot. And that is our male side. Okay, let's do the other side. And we want to make sure that jacket is within the teeth there. And we're going to insert that whole assembly into the shell. And beautiful. Let's test this real quick. I like to use the Rat Sound Sniffer sender. It's going to tell us a lot about if there's any shorts or swaps. What we're looking for is all green lights when both ends are connected. And we have all green lights. That means we did this properly. Good news. Let's do some work on labeling. So, I'd like to start with color code here. Beautiful. And then, a lot of people would stop there, but we're building our own cable, so we want this to be really perfect for our needs. I like to put on a text label that says the length. That's just going to make it easier for folks who are new to your company to work with your cable, or, you know, random stagehands, whoever's around. They won't have to ask what red means every time. It's going to be very clear to everyone. But it's also easy at a quick glance to know what it is if you know your color code. And then we definitely need a company logo of some sort. That's kind of the most essential thing when you're working in field environments. You're going to be around other companies. You don't want to mix up cables. Put that out here. Awesome. And we're going to cover that whole thing with some clear heat shrink to protect it. Beautiful. That is going to serve us well. Then I like to finish this up with some nice thick Velcro. This is Riptie Velcro. Other companies will use tie line or even just electrical tape on site. I think the thick Velcro route is the best way to go. There we go. There's our XLR. This is going to serve us for decades to come. And it's going to be just about the best XLR cable money can buy at a cheaper price than if you'd bought it pre-assembled from some factory somewhere where you don't know if they're doing it properly. So this is the way to go. I recommend this method. Let me know if you have any other techniques or any other ideas about how to build cables or any other products that you like to use. Thank you.